Hey everybody, Dungeon Builder back again. Today I wanted to talk about what makes a fun adventure. Now, when you hear the word adventure, you might think of two halflings climbing up the side of a volcano, or you may picture a swashbuckler flying through the sails of a ship, waving his saber about. Well, the term adventure is very broad, but just hearing it can fill you with anticipation of what's about to happen, give you that exciting feeling. So today I wanted to talk about how you can inject some adventure into your games. Adventure can come in all scopes and degrees. To me, a fun adventure sounds like a group of scoundrels uniting in a hushed back room. One of them pulls out a tightly rolled map and says, "I found it. The map to the ancient Spider King's lost treasure." Or heroes carving their way through a misty, undead-filled forest, tracking down a remote artifact that might save the world from the return of the great world serpent. Now, a world-ending threat is not the only form of adventure. We all know that, but for some reason, when we sit down to write our adventure for our players, we often think of the biggest, most epic scenarios. However, an idea with smaller stakes can be just as fun for the table to play out. I think of some of the fights that I had at the end of my campaigns where the players squared off against the big bad evil guy. They were great conclusions to years of build-up, but I also remember smaller moments that were just as enjoyable, like the party tracking down a thief, which turned into an exciting chase scene, them running rooftop to rooftop at night in a busy city, or the group happily exploring a random tunnel in a dungeon and encountering an angry Bahir, forcing the party to think on their feet and try to escape. Adventure is what I aim to include in my games. I want my players to feel like heroes. So that being the case, it's important to make situations for them to be heroes. Create nasty villains, create tough choices, create situations that let them choose adventure. Choices. Even if you are running a pre-written module and not an open-world sandbox, giving your players choices allows them to write their own adventure. This is why dungeons have four-way intersections, or a path in the woods comes to a fork in the road. Choices create a sense of excitement and the question, are we making the right call? And it doesn't always have to be a choice in direction. It can be a choice like, do we help the king quell the uprising? Or do we help the townsfolk overthrow the king? After clearing out the goblin hideout, does the party free the caged young dragon they found in there? Or leave it locked up? Do they turn in the evil duke after uncovering his plot? Or take justice into their own hands? Or maybe they're like my players who find a spooky room, chuck a javelin into the darkness, hear a scream, and then run away before they find out whatever happened in that room. Either way, let there be choices. Give your players choices, let them choose their fate, and let that write the story. Villains. It's fun to have a target. Give the players a bad guy to hate. Use their backstories, their failures in game, or tug at their heartstrings. You want them to have a reason to chase and crush the big bad evil guys of your world. Sometimes the villains write themselves based off what the characters do in the game. For example, say the group keeps failing persuasion checks at the tavern, and the NPC gets meaner over time, or hires the local thieves guild to take care of them for being a nuisance. Or maybe the guard they tried to bribe turns them in based on a bad check. So in my game, they captured a pickpocket, beat him up pretty badly, but then let him go. Later that night, one of the characters decided to go back to the inn and sleep while the rest of the party went off to explore the town. Thanks to some good rolls, the pickpocket managed to sneak into the bedroom where that player was sleeping. After a small fight, he left that player in a bloody heap. The other characters didn't even know this was happening until they returned and saw their friend in a bloody mess all over the bed. Now, many sessions later, that player got to get their revenge on that NPC when they finally confronted them in an underground river on a boat. They managed to slay that pickpocket, and it was a great retribution arc that happened over many sessions. And I didn't plan any of that, but because of their choices and the roles that they made, it created a good, satisfying ending for that little arc. Talk with your table. It's cliche, but it really is the best way to find out what your players want in their game. Just ask them what kind of adventures excite them. I personally love running very grim, dark, creepy adventures, but I know if I run that all the time, it's going to get redundant, and eventually they're going to get burned out on the same undead campaign over and over again. So I try to mix it up with different types of settings, NPCs, and monsters they encounter to keep it spicy, you know what I'm saying? After all, variety is the spice of life, so they say, even in your imaginary world. So that being said, spice it up. If you're starting a new arc or a new campaign, ask your friends what they want to see going forward. Do they want to be pirates? Do they want to be lost underground? Do they want to be on a new planet? Get their input on what they want, and that'll make the story 10 times better for you and them, because you're going to be running a game that they actually want to play in, and something that inspires adventure. So go with the flow and think about putting adventure in your games and giving your players the opportunity to be heroic. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Make sure to comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff to help grow the channel, and I'll catch you in the next one.